Today we are checking out Ephesus, a once flourishing city which was then all but abandoned. During its peak time, it was thought to be the second most important city in the entire Roman Empire, only behind Rome, which has led to a lot of history occurring right here in Ephesus. And then tomorrow we're going to Pamukkale to check out some of the best Turkish hot springs.
This morning we started with an amazing Turkish breakfast that our host made for us. Then we walked down by the bus station because we knew by the bus station we would be able to find a taxi. We walked to the bus station, which was only a couple blocks away, and found a taxi, no problem. And it was the nicest taxi driver we have ever had. Now we are in the ancient city of Ephesus, which is over 2,000 years old, which is truly incredible. This place is also really important because the Apostle Paul was here, and the Apostle Paul preached for about 3 years here in Ephesus. He wrote a letter to the church of Ephesus, and the Apostle Paul was also kicked out of Ephesus when some of the local tradesmen that made idols of the temple of Artemis were not happy with his teachings against idolatry. So let's go check out the city.
The history and the overall age of this place is just so crazy. Like, a lot of this was built over 2,000 years ago. And honestly, a lot of it has been preserved pretty well. I mean, there's still a lot of walls standing. There's still a lot of pillars everywhere. But obviously there's been a lot that has been destroyed. It's said that, like, you know, way back when this place was almost used as like a quarry after everything was destroyed, people came in here, took a lot of the marble, took a lot of the stones, and then used them to build different churches and different mosques throughout the thousands of years that, you know, it's been sitting here. But so a lot of it has been preserved, and that's what makes this place such a popular place, is because of how well it has been preserved.
So all these rocks that are piled up right here are all inscribed. It's just mind-blowing to me that these aren't behind some glass in a museum. They're just piled up here, and there's literally writing on these rocks. Who knows how old they are or from what time period they were from. They're just all stacked here now just to look at as we are walking through.
Going to try and Google Translate this Greek inscription. I'll read the bottom part. The bottom part says, "Good luck. Chief performers, powers no by you feels, status unknown, patient, something, something, something." Google Translate doesn't seem to be super accurate, but it's still kind of cool to be able to like translate something that was written thousands of years ago. So we're just getting our first look at the amphitheater, and honestly, it's a little bit comical that I thought that first one we saw was the amphitheater, because that first little area that we saw was pretty tiny in comparison to this one. We haven't actually made it over there yet, but I can already see that this one is just huge. I'm really excited to go check it out.
This is so incredible. This amphitheater fits 25,000 people. It was used for theater assemblies and even gladiator shows. We're gonna climb all the way to the top to get a full view of what it was like to sit in the nosebleeder seats here in this amphitheater. We get a full view of the mountains with the fall colored trees off in the distance. And then on my left side, there's a whole marble road stretching away from the amphitheater. So it's really just an incredible view up here of what this city used to be. They still use this amphitheater today for concerts, which would be so cool to go to. It's truly incredible, the renovation that they've done here, and the highlight of our time so far in Ephesus. Because
Ephesus is so close to the Aegean Sea, it's actually a super popular place for a lot of tourists who are on different cruise ships to come. So there's a port town called Kustadasi, I think is how you say it, just about 30 minutes drive away. So a lot of tours are operated between that town and Ephesus. So anyone coming off the cruise ship for like a day are able to come here and check out Ephesus. But that leads to thousands of visitors visiting here during the summer. Fortunately, we are here during the off season. It's November, so we have a lot of this place all to ourselves.
So we've made it to the other gate entrance. So we're going to head back into Selkirk to go to the Temple of Artemis as well as St. John's Basilica.
Leatherbacks.
No, thank you.
We have genuine fake bags.
I was gonna say, they're fake.
Yeah, they are.
So I just tried some dresses on at one of these shops. The price he started at was $80, and I got him to agree to $30 before I even tried any of the dresses on. So definitely whatever price they tell you, try to get less than half of that, because they'll probably go for it. I tried them on, I didn't like any, but I just wanted to give you that word of caution at all of these shops outside of all of these tourist destinations.
St. John Johannes, Fort Koran St. John Johannes Christian House. Mosque, Isabe Mosque, Osmanish original, today Isabe Mosque.
Oh, is that what we walked by this morning?
Yeah.
Mosque open, St. John open, castle open.
Oh, okay.
St. John castle same, this is money. This is a mosque, no money free.
Okay.
Okay.
You can see it, book.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you, though.
Okay, old coins, Alexander.
We just got here to the Temple of Artemis, and honestly, I was expecting way more to be here. There's just one pillar still standing and some rubble around it, but honestly, there's not a ton to see. There was a sign up at the front giving some information. Unfortunately, a lot of this temple is in the British Museum, so we will get to see it once we go to that, but unfortunately there's not a lot to see here on site where it used to stand. The structure was actually built and destroyed a couple of different times. So it was first built 500, 600 BCE, and then it was destroyed by some crazy guy. He lit it on fire and destroyed it because he wanted to become famous in about 300 BCE, and then after that it was rebuilt again, and it was said to be built even bigger and larger than the first time, and that's why it became one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world. The reason the Temple of Artemis is so far away from the rest of the stuff is because in about 300 BCE, when the Greeks took over, there was actually a ruler that wanted to move the city about 2 miles away, which is what you see today at the ancient city of Ephesus, and the citizens were unwilling to move at first, and so that ruler blocked up the sewage systems, which made the city uninhabitable, and so everyone did end up moving to that new location. But that's why the ancient Temple of Artemis is here, and then all the ancient ruins of Ephesus is about 2 miles away from here. So because the Temple of Artemis is about 2 miles away from the ancient ruins of Ephesus, we did have to get a taxi down here. The guy at first wanted me to pay him 100 lira. Now, when we went up there, it was only 60 lira, so I knew it shouldn't be that much. So I did get him talked down to 80. I was trying to get 70 out of him, but he was stuck on the 80, so I did go with the 80. But just another example of like having to barter your way down just a little bit, otherwise you're gonna end up paying way more than what you actually need to for any services around here. It is a walkable distance, only 2 miles, but it is raining, and the rain's actually starting to pick up even more now, so that's why we decided to get a taxi, and we're gonna head back into town before it keeps on raining on us. So right behind the Temple of Artemis, we saw a path that we thought we could get back into town with, but now we're walking through like a pasture with a lot of donkeys in it, and we're still not sure if we're actually gonna make it. But the rain picked up quite a bit, which is why we were trying to take this shortcut, but it might end up being a longer way to get back to the city. We're like legit walking through someone's field. Hopefully we don't get in trouble, but they seem pretty friendly around here, like, eh, whatever. So hopefully this donkey doesn't charge me. Okay. Donkey didn't like me getting close. There's also a fence all along this. So we are now here at the Basilica of St. John. John actually used to live here in Ephesus there for a while, or at least it's thought that he did. And then it's also thought that since Jesus told John to take care of Mary, his mother, that Mary also lived here in Ephesus with John as John was taking care of her. However, there's not a lot of evidence that Mary actually did live here. However, that being said, there is a church over where people think that the House of Mary used to be. So even though there's not like a lot of evidence that Mary used to live here, there is still a lot of different churches here in honor of Mary.
Behind me is a model of what they believe that St. John's Church looked like in the 6th century AD. It looks like it was absolutely beautiful with 6 domes on the top in the shape of a cross. But the rain has picked up and the site closes at 4:30, so we're gonna quickly head up to the fortress that looks over the hill from the Ottoman Empire.
We're done checking this out, so we're gonna head back down and try and find some supper.
Kuşbaşı kaşar.
What?
Kuşbaşı kaşar. Meat and cheese.
Oh, meat and cheese, yes.
Bana bak
Yum. Looks delicious.
And only meat.
Meat.
Yes. Turkish kıymalı.
Turkish kıymalı.
Kıymalı. Aferin. Sen Meryem'den daha iyi konuşuyorsun.
So we had to try yet another traditional Turkish dish, which is Turkish pizza, also called pide. It's like a long, stretched out flat bread that's put into the oven, and this one is meat and cheese and looks absolutely delicious. I cannot wait to try it. The flatbread has such a good flavor. It's all warm and crispy, and one of the best things we've had in Turkey so far.
So I ordered roasted meatballs with soft cheese sauce on top, and I'm not exactly sure what that means other than there is a lot of meat in here mixed with like onions and peppers with a lot of cheese on top. It came out like sizzling hot, so it looks absolutely delicious. They also gave us some bread to like scoop it up with, so I'm gonna give it a try. Very, very good. Turkey has not disappointed with their food yet.
So we are ending our day in Turkey the best way possible with baklava. We found a little baklava shop. We got 5 different kinds to try. We're heading back to our Airbnb before our big day tomorrow, going to Pamuk. Good morning. It is the next day. We grabbed some simit, which is some traditional bread, on the way down to the train station. We've got a long day ahead.
So we are taking a train from Selkirk to Denizli. It costs about $6 to get there, and then we're going to be taking a little minibus from Denizli to Pamukkale. All right, our train is about here, so we're gonna go hop on it. So we have now made it to Pamukkale and to the ancient city of Hierapolis. The city was kind of built up as a Roman spa city, or like a Roman bath city, where a lot of people came to enjoy the hot springs here. Back in the day, it was thought that the hot springs had like natural healing abilities. So there's a lot of doctors that had like their like little doctor's office here to be able to use those hot springs as part of their healing treatments for their patients. However, the city of Hierapolis was destroyed by an earthquake. It seems like a lot of earthquakes occurred here because Ephesus too was mostly destroyed by an earthquake.
There's also a lot of biblical significance here as well. One of the disciples of Jesus, Philip, lived here. He was ultimately crucified in this city. However, his daughters were prophetesses, and they carried on his legacy here in this area.
Right now, we are walking down to like the main area of Hierapolis. We're walking through what's known as the Necropolis, which is actually just means the city of the dead. And so right now we are just surrounded by tombs. This is where a lot of the dead were buried here in this area. This is kind of one of those things where it doesn't say not to go and check everything out. So we're just kind of going to assume that we can just walk up to everything and check it all out.
So a lot like Ephesus, a lot of the ruins here were actually excavated in the 1800s and were taken to museums in Berlin, London, and Rome. So unfortunately, you have to go there to see a lot of the things that were originally here.
Just got done walking through the Necropolis, and we are now at the front gate of Hierapolis. So we're gonna go start checking out the actual city of Hierapolis now.
We are now in the church. Oh, there's this little dog. This little dog is following us around. But we just made it to the top of the hill right behind the amphitheater. This church was built in the 5th century on top of a hill where it is believed that St. Philip was martyred. It was comprised of 28 rooms and supported by marble columns, which we can still see remnants of scattered throughout the church here today. I'm just wondering how they ever even lifted up these pillars. This is just one massive piece of marble. I don't understand with the technology they had, how they lifted all of these up into the air and built such amazing structures that we're still able to see thousands of years later. It's just really mind-blowing. It's also mind-blowing to me that we can just come up here, walk through this, and just touch the artifacts that are left. We're the only people up here right now. There's tons of people walking the path from the Colosseum down to the hot springs, but there's almost no one up here in this church. It's pretty mind-blowing. Right down the hill is a newer Roman church that was built around what is believed to be Philip's tomb. Right next to it is a station where pilgrims could wash their feet in reverence as they visited this church. Don't hurt your back.
Nope. I'm just gonna stay right there. I am joining the Club of Sophia on 2. I have no idea how they ever moved all this marble because holy smokes, this small trunk is super heavy. My size piece of marble, still very heavy, but tiny in comparison. We're gonna put this back so no one knows, so I don't get arrested. Don't worry guys, there's like a bajillion tons of marble around here. That little piece being moved does not matter. So right now we're at the Pamukkale terraces, which was created by hot springs welling up from underneath where they dissolved calcium, and then as they came up they deposited that calcium, creating all this white terraces that we see today. And someone just fell in right behind me, so that's a tough day for them. So as that calcium solidified, it created all these pools that you're able to see. However, unfortunately, because Pamukkale has gotten so big, they've actually diverted a lot of those underground springs to have water for Pamukkale, and so now there's actually no water that springs up here. It's actually all man-made water that's pumped into this area today.
So why it's called Pamukkale is because it means cotton castle, which is exactly what these calcium deposits look like right here. They're hard when you touch them, but they definitely look like a bunch of cotton balls all stacked up together. It's absolutely beautiful, paired with the blue water as well. Turkey just continues to blow us away. We've absolutely loved our time here in Cappadocia, in Istanbul. Check those out if you haven't already. But next we are headed to a totally new country, so stay tuned as we head to Egypt.